What is up? Kevin Hale here. It is Round of Shots on the Sunday night. I was getting ready to say September. Sunday night, January 29th, 2023. Hope everyone is doing well. Had a great weekend. Doing it via Twitter and YouTube. It is coming off I think it's fair to say, a very disappointing loss to Kansas last night at Rupp, the SEC Big 12 Challenge, which I think by last scoring, Big 12 outdid the SEC, I think. Anyways, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk also, do something a little different tonight. I'm going to have a separate segment where I'm going to talk mental health for student athletes. I'm going to bring a friend on who's a professor, psychologist, and we're going to just talk about some of the stuff that the Kentucky basketball team has kind of openly put out there as far as the mental stress, duress that they have been dealing with. And, and just throwing it out here, BBN, there's a percentage of BBN that's not helping that case, but we're going to talk, and we're always going to have fun with our show, with the chats. I see Jordan and Ann in the chat. People are are still watching the AFC Championship game, Bengals Chiefs. Someone will give me an update on that. But without further ado, let's get the show started. Joining me tonight, this is like my, what was that, Carrie? Did I catch you off guard?
No, I was playing.
My core team here, Terry Brown. Terry, you still sporting the Niners jersey. How's your day been, sir?
I've had better days.
How's your day been since the third quarter of that game?
Let me tell you something.
Here comes a promo.
Four Roses is fantastic bourbon. It will help you when your team is. Are we all adults here?
Every Sunday night, bro.
It will help you when your team is shit in the bed in the NFC Championship game. But I love being with you folks. It's fantastic. I love you, Kevin Hale. I love you, Carrie Lewis. Carrie Lewis, my wife loves you very, very much. So we're going to come to Lexington and see you soon. You too, Kevin Hale. We're coming to Louisville to see you.
I know. I can't wait.
It's going to be fantastic.
Always is. Always.
So it's been a great weekend, if you're asking.
In summary.
Between the Kansas game and the Philadelphia NFC Championship game, it's been great.
Yeah. But do you give Four Roses a thumbs up?
All these takes are brought to you by Four Roses, single batch. To be clear, can I be clear at the very front?
Crystal.
My wife has been like, "Are you sure? Are you sure you need to go on round of shots tonight?" And I'm like, you know what, Kevin Hale, this is what he brings me on for, is because he knows
soundbite, man.
I'm gonna keep it real,
always,
even if bourbon is involved. But I love you all very, very much. I just want to be very, very clear with that.
Appreciate it. Carrie Lewis, in your news, what's up, girl?
Same old. I'd complain, but who would listen, right? I actually stayed sober for this on purpose. Since we were having that special guest tonight.
We were doing something a little different tonight.
I'm kind of sober. Well, no. If you're asking me if I could operate a motor vehicle, no, I would not.
No, I would not suggest that. But
if you're like, hey, TB, would you dance? I probably would go on the dance floor right now.
Uh-oh.
So there's a lot of gray area between sober and intoxicated.
I'm
in the part where you would not give me your car keys, but you would let me lead the electric slide. So I'm kind of in between.
I like it. I
love you all very much.
Yeah. Well, I've reached out to Van, who is scheduled to join us. Hopefully he can make it again. And I invited Steve Katsikas, who is going to be our guest to come on around between 9:20 and 9:25. He'll be on. We'll probably fit 20 minutes, and then he'll jump and we'll wrap up the show with some stuff. We'll talk as much sports topics as we can. Again, just a shout out, Jordan and Niner Mike in the house, Michelle Morton. Hey, Michelle. JD Hall. He's here. JD.
Good to see you, JD.
Yeah, welcome.
Niner Mike, hey, love you, buddy. It's tough for now.
USM Cat fan. JD, glad to see you back. I'll chat with you later. And all right, let's get at it. Yesterday, Kansas came into Lexington. Yesterday's game, last night's game was frustrating for me. We had the shots, couldn't hit shots. They hit, credit to them. They hit some big time shots towards the end. Stat wise, let me throw a couple stats at you that really was a little wow for me. We shot 49% from the field, so we missed 26 shots, 25-51. Rebounds, got out rebounded, which is not the norm. Only 2 offensive rebounds, 0 second chance points. They had a plan on how to defend Oscar. Oscar only had 9 shot attempts, 6 of 9 from the field. There was a lot of opportunities to get him the ball more. Terry, I'll start with you. What was your summary from last night's game?
I think Kansas should hit more shots down the stretch. That's basically what it came down to. I'm not going to be one of these folks to be like, oh, all is lost, because this is still, when you look at where we were with South Carolina, and if we all assume that was rock bottom, this isn't rock bottom. This is going against a top team in Kansas that needed a win, right? They had lost 3 games in a row, had never lost 4 in the cell. So they were coming out with something to prove. And I thought we played well, but everything I saw that we did wrong is a fixable situation, right? So those folks are like, oh, we're back at square one. No, we're not back at square one. Obviously, you don't like losing to Kansas. I get it, because it was a quad 1-1 win that we needed, right? And we always like to catch Kansas in that all-time winning thing. But I'm still encouraged by what we saw. This team was a very viable team for most of the game. So, as I said against Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, if they keep playing how they are, this is a second weekend team in the NCAA tournament. I'm not saying Final Four, but I'm saying this is a team that can make that second weekend in the NCAA tournament.
The jury is still out if this team is actually in the tournament right now. If you go by Joe Lenardi, and we'll address that later. But Carrie, what was your take on last night?
Pretty overall lackluster performance. Considering the last 4 games they played, you felt like they had turned a corner, and this was kind of like they went back around the corner a little bit. And it's cliche, and I hate this when people say this, but Kansas hit shots. I mean, that's just, they did, and they have a dick that can shoot. Unfortunately, God, that guy's hair.
Did you hear the chant from the student section last night? I quote, we're adults here, to stay true to what Terry says. We're adults here. The student section, though I'm hearing this, I heard something, but it was clarified on Twitter when what's his first
Dick.
name?
I don't know his last name. Dick. It doesn't matter.
You suck dick. You suck.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we were much more creative in the 90s. Can we just say that?
We're not allowed to say what we said in the 90s anymore.
I know, but
we're not allowed to say that.
Being of the same age, Carrie, you understand what I like.
Yeah.
Look,
Oh yeah.
I get this student section and the eruption zone. It's been around for 15 years or whatever, and they want to pretend like, oh, we're the student section. The student section I was in cheered on 2 national champions. So obviously, what we did might have been a little bit different than what you're doing. Is that old man yell at the cloud?
A little bit. You can shake
I
your
apologize.
fist on when you say it. So,
But
Kevin,
we won 2 championships.
it's true.
Whatever you're experiencing ain't what we experience,
It's
because 2 national championships, you got to go back to 48 and 49, right? Or 47, 40, whatever. When I was there and you were there, Carrie, it was different. I'm sorry.
That's true. Well, Kevin, I'll tell you also that every team in the country that we play going forward now should have the blueprint to beat us because we can't defend a pick and roll. We can't defend a basic basketball play that they teach you how to defend in elementary school. We also have trouble with backdoor cuts really bad too, but not being able to defend the pick and roll is really just beyond unacceptable to me.
We were exposed so bad.
Oh, so bad.
Yeah.
It's awful. And honest to God, every team going forward has the same blueprint. Just run the pick and roll because we can't defend it. It's nonsense. And still missing those shots inside is, again, just ridiculous. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. So I don't know that I necessarily agree with Terry about this team being going, even to the second game on that first weekend, let alone getting in. I mean, I don't know. I was confident last week. I'm not as confident this week. I'm not totally jumping, I'm not jumping ship or anything, but I just felt like we took a couple steps backwards.
No, I'm totally with you. Defensively, the pick and roll, just a lot of breakdowns, and it was very alarming.
Well, it's one of those things. To me, it was Cal and the coaching staff. How are we going to defend it? Because Jay Billis, who I'm not a big fan of, was talking about Oscar or whoever in that drop coverage. And if you're dropping off of the pick and roll when they've got you spread out, it's a whole lot harder for Oscar to recover and defend that pick and roll. That being said, Oscar's got to be more of an active defender on that. He can't just be like, what's going on? That you can't do that. So I still think, yes, it was an issue. Is it fixable? Yes, because I think schematically you can fix how you defend the pick and roll, because you can ask Oscar to do something different. You can ask Toppin to do something different. But it was disheartening to hear Bill Self talk about, hey, we knew we could beat them in the pick and roll, and they did it for 40 minutes. I mean, their front court was like 10 of 13 at the rim. That you're not winning any games like that.
Right. Yeah, starting the game off, I mean, we started very well. It was very promising. I thought we potentially were going to run their asses out of the gym, but Frederick, not his best game. And I saw an interesting stat someone threw on Twitter where these our opponents who are like top 50, I don't know, whatever. Basically, Frederick has bad games when it's against, good opponents. He does better as the teams are, not as good. He had a very disappointing game last night, Terry.
Yeah, I mean, I had it back and forth with Dylan, who I think we've had on the show, Dylan Ballard talking about the game, and everybody is falling in love with the basketball Benny lineup, right? I think it's Wallace, Reeves, CJ, Toppin, and Oscar, right? Everybody's falling in love with that because the numbers say that's our best lineup. One, you can't play your best lineup for 40 minutes. That's one. Two, you have to watch the game to understand how things go. Like people were clamoring for this lineup, and Livingston was balling in the first part of the first half. So if you're watching the game, you can't take him out because the dude's balling. That's basketball, right? So everyone gets locked into this lineup, and it's like, you can't play that lineup for 40 minutes. It doesn't work. A few years ago, the Golden State Warriors had their death lineup, right? Where they would have dudes that would come in. This is their five that's going to take a 2-point deficit to a 13-point lead. Like, this is their lineup, right? But again, you can't play it for 40 minutes. You have to figure out how to play without that lineup. And folks are telling me, CJ should have played more. Well, in the second half, he played 13 minutes, was 0 of 4, and had 2 turnovers. And people are like, well, the numbers say you play CJ. And I'm like, damn it, watch the game. If he's 1 of 8, if I'm a Kansas person, why am I guarding him? Because he's 1 of 8.
And
so
behind the 3. Yeah.
You lose what the numbers say because people are watching the game. I get what the numbers and analytics say, but if the dude's 1 for 8, he's no better than what Severe's doing, right? People, Severe played too much. He played 15 minutes.
Right.
Or I would have liked to seen Reeves and CJ play more together. Reeves played 19 minutes in the second half. CJ played 13. Like, they had their moments to get us over the hump, and they didn't do it. Just because the numbers say this is the most efficient, and this is the thing, and I'll say it, Matt Jones of KSR, they've been pushing this basketball Benny lineup, but I can't remember, Ethan something, the numbers guy was like, yeah, it's good in small doses. I don't know how this is going to extrapolate if you play them for high doses, right? You can get a lineup that in spurts is really, really good, but for extended minutes, it doesn't work. And it doesn't work if one of your dudes is 1 of 8 from the field. It just doesn't work.
All right. Let's segue to one of the other talking points for tonight. Something we haven't done on this show in a while is had a guest segment. But something that came out last week, guys, was WKYT.com article, The Importance of Mental Health for Student Athletes. And when I read this, I'm aware that players most definitely at this level and on the biggest stage, college basketball stage in the state, the scrutiny, the pressures, everything about their livelihood is upside down, being a Kentucky Wildcat basketball player. And this is where fans do not help the case. So it was a very, it was a great article. It was a reminder on that, guys, these are kids. So I wanted to talk about it. And I reached out to a friend of mine who is here. I'm going to bring him on. Professor Steve Katsikas. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How's everybody?
Good to see you.
Good to see y'all too.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Mr. Steve. Dr. Steve, I should say. Apologize.
Either way, it's all good. Yeah.
Steve, it's been a while since we've had a chance to talk. So again, good to see you, and I always enjoy our time together. Steve, just real quick, your background, professor, but what else do you got? What's your accolades with that?
I'm a clinical psychologist, professor at Spalding University. Been doing that for most of my career. Started my career as a child adolescent psychologist, and sort of morphed into a bit of a jack of all trades. Also a huge basketball fan, college basketball fan. So I was really enjoying hearing y'all's analysis. Of the
Who's
game.
your college team? Because you're not from
Vanderbilt
here.
Commodores.
Yeah, that's what
I went to Vandy, and so I watch basketball very differently than you all do. You watch basketball with the, what seed are we going to get this season? And I watch, are we going to beat the spread tonight? So it's a very different kind of experience as a fan. My rewards come fewer and further between, but when they happen, they're very sweet.
Steve's also an accomplished musician. Real quick plug for you guys. He is with, let me make sure I do you justice. It's a Pink Floyd tribute band. Is that the best way to put it?
That's it. Yeah.
Yes. And they're so fucking good that they do shows like the place downtown. What is it? The
Brown Theater. We'll be playing at the Kentucky Center for the Performing Arts. Brown
that's
Theater.
it. Yeah.
March 11th. There you go. There's the plug.
Yeah. And it's very extravagant. Pink Floyd show. So, Steve, again, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So, as a Kentucky fan, the Carrie and I, we see firsthand because we partake in social media how when seasons like this season for Kentucky basketball, we have a albeit it's a small percentage, but they go at players. They'll, on social media, just very hateful. Yeah, hateful is the right word. To the point where this article that I was referencing, was specifically mentioning, and I'll say it because he is mentioned, Jacob Toppin. This is his quote: "I was messed up mentally. I wasn't even right. I wasn't thinking right even when I was on the court. I wasn't fully on the court." He reached rock bottom, and there was no bottom before this game. So I tried to focus on climbing back out of this hole. Blah, blah, blah. So you get kids who, again, these are kids who, for better or worse, are on one of the biggest stages of college basketball, period. And, when things don't go well, it's very, it blows up. And then you got a fan base who is passionate, but at the same time too, pretty damn inconsiderate. Steve, what has been your take when it comes to mental health and student athletes?
I think student athletes experience, first of all, a lot of the same pressures and challenges that lots of young adults are experiencing anyway, whether they're in college or whether they're starting their work careers and things like that. I've been very alarmed at the rates of anxiety and mood disorders from about 2018 to 2020. So there's quite a bit of, the CDC did some research looking at the effects of COVID, and we saw among that population, that adolescent young adult population, we saw the rates double and in some cases triple for clinical levels of problems with anxiety and depression. We saw rates of suicidal thinking skyrocket. And we might think, okay, so we're on the other side of COVID, maybe, kind of, sort of, and we should, start to see things return to normal, right? Because, we're not all socially isolated as much anymore and things like that. And to an extent, we're starting to see a little bit of movement sort of back in the right direction, but it's still alarming rates. And you throw on top of what sort of the experience of young adults is, and the painful isolation, the disruption, the uncertainty. And then you look at these kind of unique set of young adults, the men and women who play a highly competitive sport. And you're right. I'll watch basketball, yell at the screen, things like that. But it's not lost on me that I'm watching student athletes. I'm watching young men and women who play a game because they have a passion for it. They have talent. They have worked hard. The college game is not the pro game. and yet the fans really are treating it as like, as a fan, I expect you, this stranger on a screen, to somehow perform for me to make me feel good and justify all the efforts I've put into reading things on social media and watching games and watching interviews and things like that. And it's just that pressure that those young adults experience sits on top of all the other things that go along with being an emerging adult. The kind of, who am I? Where am I going? What am I good at? Who am I? Who are my friends? All that stuff, that kind of churn that young adults experience. So I think that the student athletes have it unusually hard now, and it's a little heartbreaking, to get this personal inside look, at for example, Jacob Toppin, who's an elite player, who has had just these, streaks and moments of brilliance on the basketball court. Has a huge future for himself. And then you remember when you see this interview that he's just a young man who's trying to find his way and feeling the incredible pressure of what it must be like to be on that stage. And I think you're right. There's something, I don't think it's unique to University of Kentucky basketball or Kansas basketball or whatnot. It's just part of it. But there is something extra difficult, I think, about that. You called it a platform, and I agree, about being on stage, if you will, and performing for all of those games across an entire season in front of millions of people who turn out for you.
Yeah, no, great points. This is something I'm gonna share too. Last night, I didn't hear it through the TV, but they put it out on social media. As soon as Carrie, Terry, as soon as Wheeler was, came into the game, people were booing him.
Oh.
And I mean, that's a kid who has been the target for a lot of Kentucky fans this season. And let me share this. Let's do this. This is a great quote by Cal.
I kissed Severe. I got sweat all over my face. I had to get a towel. I kissed him. I said, I'm about ready to cry. I know what he's been through. You don't. Some people out there that threw stuff at this kid, you don't know what it does. And I always come back to this. If it were your son, how would you want him to be treated? If it were your son, how would you want him to be treated? I kissed Severe.
All right. So that was Cal. Carrie, or go switching over. Terry, I'll start with you. Again, in this case, Wheeler immediately booed when he comes in.
Full disclosure, Dr. Steve, I deal with clinical depression and anxiety. I've been down that road. I get it. I went to the University of Kentucky on a full scholarship, messed around, got kicked out of school. So my heart goes out to these kids because I can't fathom trying to figure out who I was on this bright stage with the bright lights. That to me is like, so when I'm talking about these kids, I'm reaching my arms around them because I get it. And there's a lot of folks that say, well, they come here, they should expect it. And I'm like, yes, the University of Kentucky, University of Louisville, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas. Yes, those are places where the light is the brightest, but that doesn't mean you should be a jackass just because they're here. That's not what they signed up for. They signed up to play basketball or do whatever. That doesn't give you carte blanche to be a jackass, right?
Right.
Because they're still people. They're still somebody's kids. And that's what breaks my heart, because with Severe last night, it's like he's coming in, he's fighting, and he's getting booed at home. And I'm like, how is he taking that in,
That's heartbreaking. It really is.
Carrie, you being a former student as well, were, you were there. You're as part of the band. You're there for football. I mean, was it that brutal during that time with the fact because football stunk
during Bill
your
Curry?
whole-
I saw people boo Pookie Jones. So yeah, it absolutely
a home-
100%
a
was.
home- yeah,
Yeah,
state school kid,
that brutal. But and maybe Dr. Steve can speak to this a little bit in the fact that yes, the student athlete's mental well-being is obviously important and tied into this. But it seems to me that especially in the age of social media, that you see this more is that this fans' mental well-being is tied to how the team does. So now we've got this thing going on with the fans. They're in serious depression and anxiety and all this other stuff because the team lost. And where are they going to go? They're going to take it out on the player, which then makes that even worse because that affects the player's mental health because the player's doing the best that they can to win, to make the fans happy. So it seems like it's kind of all like this intertwined thing at this point.
I said something the other day and I try my best not to get into sparring on Twitter or social media, but someone made a comment about the kids' basketball team and just the way I can't remember how it was worded, but my response back to him is like, if you're living vicariously through these kids, please go seek help. And that dude went at me and on my DM, just trying to rip me. You don't know my health and all. And yeah, maybe I was out of line to say that, but Steve, I'll stay with it. You've got adults who potentially are going to lose sleep at night over a basketball game. And then before they go to sleep or while they're awake at night, well, I'm going to get on social media and I'm going to go at this player for, as if it's personal. That's how they're coming across these kids. It's personal. And that's as passionate as our fan base is. To me, that's very alarming for a mature adult, going at kids.
Yeah, I think the social media piece that y'all have brought up is super important and profoundly harmful in a lot of ways. The way it gets utilized. If you think about pre-social media, the way that fans kind of interacted around their favorite sports team, you'd get together with your friends and watch a sports event. If you were a real hardcore fan, you might listen to the post-game radio show or sports radio, which was largely, 90% of it was sort of a one-way from the broadcast booth to the audience. In the age of social media, everybody's a broadcaster of sorts. And
or a podcaster.
Well, you've been doing it for a while, Kevin, so you get some kudos there. Yeah. But the idea that in social media, the way that some people use it is they say things on social media to people they know and don't know in ways they would never interact with people in real space. And I think that's happening in the sports world. And I remember when Cal took away phones, the cell phones from the team, right when he was so frustrated with the performance.
They started playing better.
They did that especially right after that game. They beat my team pretty good. But the idea that I think these kids can't help but see it, right? They can't help but see all of these things. It's got to be some gasoline that's getting poured on the fire. What do you all think? Do you think social media is playing a role here in sort of the emerging mental health crisis for athletes and for maybe young people in general?
Go ahead, Terry.
Absolutely. So this is what I used to do, and I still do, is I do the player of the day, right? I take the date and I get the player uniform number and, the day of the date. So I did Severe Wheeler and Ty Washington last year, 3-1, right? I just said, happy Ty Washington Severe Wheeler Day. Had a picture of them 3-1, right? I sent it out there because Kevin, you follow me. Kevin or Carrie, you do as well. I just sent it out there because that's something I do. It's ridiculous, whatever. And then I was like, they liked and retweeted it, and I didn't even at them. And that to me was like, oh, they see this stuff, right? Like, even if you don't at the player, it still comes across their feed. So what are we doing? And I understand we all want to see the team win, but what are you sending out there? So I've been very mindful of what I've sent out there, and people have called me Pollyannish. People have said whatever, but I'm like, look, I've been to that abyss, Dr. Steve, right? When you talk about suicidal, I've been there, right? Where you get wrapped into yourself and trying to live up to other people's expectations. And if you don't meet it, I know what that feels like. So I try to go out of my way to not make other people feel like that, right?
Yeah.
Because you've got that voice that's telling you you can't do it, you're not worth it. So I try to send out, hey, yeah, you are. But my point is, and I'm rambling, and I apologize, Dr. Steve, full disclosure, I've had a little bit of Four Roses.
He's a Niners fan who, and
I'm a Niners fan who saw my team lose today. But my point is, you can still be nice. Like, yes, when it comes to the team lost and I'm yelling and I'm upset, I'm not going to go at the players because I don't want to put that on them. If I'm disappointed, that's on me because they're already disappointed. It's like when you have kids, it's that point where it's like, I can yell at them, but if they're already processing that whatever, what is my yelling going to do? Does that make sense, Dr. Steve?
Yes, it totally does.
Damn, my kids would be like, Dad, be more like Terry.
And look, it took me a long place to get this because Dr. Steve, look, I've been through therapy. I take my medication every day. I support mental health. Like, I am trying to be the biggest advocate for that, but not just for basketball or for whatever. Like, I think everybody should talk to somebody, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have tools in your toolkit because life is hard, man. Even if you're not playing basketball, life is damn hard. You know, your job's hard. You're trying to navigate your relationship, whatever that is. Your kids are hard. Life is hard, man. So to figure that out on top of having a bright spotlight on you, I tip my hat to those kids, and I always give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And well said.
Yeah.
Dr. Steve, real quick, I'm going to show you a comment from USM Cat fan. Dr. Steve, UK now has a Bandy grad on our football team. I feel smarter while cheering for them. The running back is Bandy's. What's his name? Tom. Or somebody help us out. Anyways, Bandy's badass running back ran through us last year.
Is that where he transferred to?
He transferred. Yeah, we're kind of like running back you these days. We seem to have a very, very good running back every year. So
yeah.
I
want to go back to something that Terry said.
Yes.
And Carrie, I'm sorry if I'm cutting you off and you want to jump in. But I really appreciate you talking about your experience in therapy and seeking mental health treatment. Only 10%. Thank you, Ray Davis. Yeah. Only 10% of the individuals who suffer of the young college athletes who are suffering from mood or anxiety disorder seek treatment. That's really low, and it's not only just low in terms of the seeking, but it's a little bit, to me, misguided in the sense that there are really effective treatments out there. Like, therapy works. It's very helpful. It uses evidence and science to inform how it's practiced. And individuals who are suffering don't necessarily, they don't have to suffer at the same level. Therapy can help get new skills and process your experience. Every college has a college counseling center. UK has an excellent one. I'm familiar with the people who work there. It's excellent. Since COVID, people can access mental health services online. That's kind of a new thing. That's one of one of the silver linings as a part of COVID, that telehealth has really taken place. And we've got research to say that therapy delivered online has the same outcomes as face-to-face. I was a little surprised. That's great. That's great news for folks. So we need to talk about stigma. We need to talk about people who are seen as and identify as strong individuals. That's what athletes are strong. And talk to them and talk about the fact that it does not translate to weakness. It does not translate to anything negative, to seek help to better yourself. And those college counseling centers there's no cost to them, or if there is, you've already paid it in tuition. And if there are any college athletes listening or thinking about it or somebody who's a college athlete or a college student, not just necessarily an athlete, or just a young adult who's struggling, nudge them and encourage them. Remind them that it's a sign of strength to be able to go say, I need a little bit of help. So I think that's an important message, and I really appreciate you amplifying it here.
Yeah, and I try to do that as much as possible, because I tell my story, Dr. Steve. I am not special individual, right? I'm really not. I'm just a dude. But I'm here because of therapy, medication, and people, right? I've got my support base. So my message is, whatever you're going through, you can get through it with reaching out. I reached out because I had to, right? You get committed inpatient, you kind of have to make some decisions about what's going on. And so I had to do it. And so I tell people, I'm not here because of anything special I have done. It's been drugs, therapy, and other people. So that's the bell that I ring. And Kevin and Carrie know I ring that as much as I can, because that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah, I've been there and done that with you, brother. Yeah, I've been down that dark road, and but we're here today, and we're here propping each other up when needed too.
I'm here drinking this Gatorade, which is delicious, and it provides me with electrolytes. Sorry, Dr. Steve.
Electrolytes, they're good for you.
I got a Gatorade sponsorship that I'm trying to. I'm sorry, I'm making light, but no, this is God is my witness. Whenever my days come to an end, I am trying to erase the stigma and tell people that getting help is the bravest thing I've ever done. Is reaching out and saying, I need help with this. Because if you have cancer, you reach out. If you break a leg, you reach out. If you are in a car accident, you reach out. But for mental health, we don't do that. And that's as important as anything else, is we have to do it. Whether you're an athlete or a regular student or a person in the world. Like I said, the world is hard, man. It is absolutely hard to go through this life and not ask for help. So I push it forward. I'm sorry, Kevin, that I'm talking.
No, you're good.
I apologize.
It's the message at the end of the day. It's still
I speak
a message
from my heart.
No,
that
you're good.
I would not be here without my therapist. I wouldn't. I wouldn't be here without Zoloft. So whoever made that, thank you very much, because I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, and
without
I know we're on a time constraint here, so I want to add to, and Terry, love you, brother, and thanks for sharing as you do, especially in the Black community. That's a fact / problem, that the message has to get out, that somebody will listen. Just speak up. Dr. Steve, I'm gonna have to cut this segment off soon, but it's something I'm gonna reach back out to you, because I want to keep talking about this more. But I'm gonna do it on my Shooting from the Lip podcast and get you back on, like Terry and whoever wants to come on, because this is real life stuff, and I have had my share of family and friends who have committed suicide in the last year alone. And you've touched on it. It's from COVID. It's military, PTSD, all kinds of things. And we just have to be better. Listen and be compassionate too. So, Steve, for people who want to follow you, you also do. He has this giant telescope, and he's always posting these great images of stars and stuff. But where can people find you on social media?
Probably Facebook. I'm on the Twitter, but I've kind of started to get away from it because of some of the things about Twitter. But Facebook's a good place to find me. And for folks who are wondering, like, where can I go? Where can I get help? Where can I do telehealth? Spalding University has a clinic called the Center for Behavioral Health. There is no waiting. You could get seen within the same week or so if you were to call to get an appointment. We also have something called the Collective Care Center. And the Collective Care Center is a special clinic like no other. It is specifically focused on racial trauma and for folks of color who've experienced racial trauma. And it is available and open and affordable, if not completely free. So if you were to look up the Center for Behavioral Health at Spalding University, that's a place that you can get help, or you can point folks that direction. Don't need insurance, don't need anything like that. Staffed by doctoral students that are learning to be psychologists, but they're under supervision. So that's sort of my last plug before I say farewell to all of you and wish you all a very good evening.
Steve, thanks so much, brother, for doing this. I'll be in touch. I'll post the Spalding information in the show description. Steve, have a good night. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right, Carrie and Terry, good to meet you all.
You.
Thank you, Steve. We appreciate it. We're going to keep fighting the good fight, man. Because,
yeah, you do that.
All right. Mental health, man, that's got a soft spot in my heart. So appreciate everything you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Steve, I'll talk to you soon, brother. Thank you. All right. So, good segment there. Terry, I always appreciate you just keeping it real. And
hey, you made it heavy, man. Look.
Well, yeah, I knew. There was a part. There was a part of me that knew it was potentially going to get a little heavy, but yeah, it's real life too. I mean, sports is a nice getaway from real life, but the problem is that it's as a sport, people are going at these kids, on a personal level, and then it becomes real life stuff.
So the thing with Severe Wheeler, and I think we should talk about that, is it's reached ridiculous proportions.
Absolutely.
The kid has taken his demotion from the starting lineup in stride.
Appears.
He only played 15 minutes last night versus 30 plus as a starter. And everyone is focusing on, the best lineup's not with him in it.
Right.
We all know that, right? We all admit that. That's a dead horse. The kid is taking his demotion in stride. He's taking his minutes reduction in stride. That's as much as you can ask. Like at this point, you can't play that super lineup for 40 minutes. Severe Wheeler is going to play. So when he comes in and something bad happens, that's not necessarily because he did it. And when I see Kentucky fans booing a Kentucky player, shame on you, shame on us. And you can talk about, I'm just booing Coach Cal. That ain't the way it translates.
Right.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
The kid is doing what we have asked him to do, and that's play his best in the minutes allotted. And this is just overkill. It's just overkill. If your takeaway from last night's game against Kansas was Severe Wheeler causes lose, are we all adults here?
Oh,
right?
Always, yes.
You're a fucking idiot. Like, there was a lot of things. and Severe Wheeler's probably 9th on your list of 10. So there I go. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, but here's the other thing too, Carrie. What doesn't help the cause is that very popular radio show who has made their feelings known about Wheeler. And when Wheeler gets into the game, their fearless leader goes on Twitter and acknowledges, oh, this is ruining the road, blah, 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 blah. And then it gaslights that particular fan or the fans who are, 100% loyal to, that 3-letter radio show. And again, here we are. It's you've got the media there. I mean, that plays a role into it to me.
I mean, it does to an extent, but I'm going to tell you what's not helping things either is sports betting and sports book. And I know people are all into it and, we need it for the revenue for the state and whatever. Fine, yay, and all these sports books. But I have not seen some more vile tweets against players from people who have lost money on games. Like, they go after professional a little bit, I think, more than I've seen them go at college.
Even for fantasy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the sports book stuff has it's really. I've seen some really vile stuff, like from people who have lost money on games. It's not that is not helping anything at all. Let me tell you.
Yeah, and we love you too. I liken this. This is my mentality when it comes to life. Whatever your beliefs are when it comes to science, the universe or whatever, I buy into the fact that the Earth is over, between 4 and 5 billion years old. In a flash, literally a flash in a pan, we exist. Big picture. But here we are today, the three of us Kentucky fans, on this little journey. Cal's journey is just being Kentucky fans, just in an age where social media is out of hand, and I mean it's hard to think that at the end of the day we should all be more of a mentality. We're all in this together. But yet there is a divide. It is yes or no with people. It's one way or the other. It's
right. So,
pro-Cal, anti-Cal. But go ahead.
So Kevin, here's my thing, and I apologize, Carrie and Kevin.
You're fine. Go.
I think I told you all before that and USMC Cat fan is right. The lowest denominator. That's how you sell papers. That's how you sell ad space. Is that lowest common denominator, right?
Clicks make money.
Right. But that's not new, right? It goes back to the extra read all about it.
It did.
That little newsboy ain't telling you what's in between the pages. He's telling you what's on the front page.
All the muck that's fit the rake.
Right.
Real quick.
So that point,
yeah.
There's nothing new under the sun, right?
Yeah. USM Cat fan says this. I saw this early and I had to bring it up. 30 years ago, worst case, a crazy dude could stand on a corner with a megaphone. Now with internet, any jackass has a global mega. That's a damn good point.
That's the point. So I think we say social media, but nothing's new, right? The difference is how fast and how loud a jackass can be with a bad opinion. And I've been a victim of this. Somebody says something stupid, and I'm like, I have to quote tweet or react to what they say, and you really don't. You really don't. That's something I've done, and I've tried not to do before. But you have to understand that these kids, they're just kids. They're just kids playing this game. And, shamefully, I always admit it was the Arkansas game in 2014. I was covering my first game, and I am internet guy. I am Twitter guy. These guys are going to fucking pay because they lost this game and they don't care. I care more than they do. And then I find myself 5 feet away from Julius Randle. And I realize he's 6'9", but he's just a kid.
Mm.
That's first.
Yeah.
Second, he's answering these questions. And I'm like, this kid is trying to figure this out. He's trying to figure out life. He's trying to figure out this game. And then thirdly, it hits me like the team lost. I'm going to go home and be about my life. But he's like, I lost. And it's a thing, right? And so that's when it hit me like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Look, I'm always going to want Kentucky to win. Let's be very clear about that. I never want them to lose. But by the same token, I'm like, Coach Cal, and we always talk about he's paid his millions. The dude wants to win, right? His staff wants to win. Mm-hmm. He's not doing anything to prevent us from winning, right? And so once I understood that, I'm like, you know what? As my dad told me years ago, sometimes shit happens. You can plan, you can execute your plan, but at the end of it, sometimes the other teams hit shots and you don't, and it's nobody's fault.
Right.
Sometimes it just happens.
Right.
And I think with sports, people become so attached to it that it's like there's this big emotional and just this big good versus evil. And sometimes some dudes hit it and some dudes don't. Like, I mean, we think about the St. Peter's loss and how that devastated us. How many losses have men's Kentucky basketball put on people that they have to deal with? Right. Like we are bringing forth the 96, 97, 98 national championship teams. How many dreams did they decimate on their way to 3 straight title games? I'm thinking about Utah, who did everything the right way. They met Kentucky and they fucking lost. And it's like, are they morally bankrupt and we're morally superior? Or, did somebody hit a shot and the other guy missed the shot? What are we doing here with all this stuff? I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. I apologize. But we read too much into sports, and it's like sometimes shit happens. Like Carrie Lewis in the news. TCU had a great season. You meet up against Georgia, and it's like, all right, this is not our fucking day. I'm a 49ers fan. We went to our fourth quarterback today. Fourth quarterback who I didn't even know who the name of 2 weeks ago.
10-year guy, too.
Huh? Yeah.
He's been in the league for 10 years. 13 teams.
And then he got a concussion, and he's out. And I'm like, you know what?
They were going to the running
McCaffrey's getting his helmet to play.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I said to my wife, my lovely wife, this is in our day. You're going to go to the fourth quarterback. Sometimes things just happen. You can plan. You can do all this stuff. And like you're saying, Kevin, now I'm going to shut up, Carrie Lewis.
Chiefs
I say Carrie Lewis in
won.
the news because Kevin says it. But like you can plan. You can do all this stuff. You can whatever. And sometimes it just goes wrong. That was the greatest lesson my father, God rest his soul, ever taught me. I can't remember what it was. I worked hard and I planned and I worked and I planned and I worked and I came in second place, and he looked me in my face. He said, sometimes, Terry, shit happens. You plan and shit happens and you come in second place. It's nobody's fault. That's just the way of the world. And like last night, people are trying to extrapolate. What does this mean? What does that mean? Sometimes Kansas was just a better fucking team on the 28th of January. Like, what are we doing?
Kansas and now Kansas City.
Like, we blew Kansas out last year.
Yeah.
And for a moment, it was like, this team is going to do X, right? Kansas went and won the championship. We went and lost to St. Peter's. Shit happens. I'm sorry, Carrie Lewis, if I'm talking over your time. You know I love you, right? My wife loves you to death because she's girls. She's a girl. My wife is a girl.
And in sports,
She drinks beer. She drinks all kinds of beer. I don't drink beer because I like to drink bourbon because I'm a Kentucky guy. But she likes sports. She's a Cubs fan. So,
all right,
Kevin, I told you earlier I was drinking Four Roses, so I apologize. I love everybody very much.
Don't say
Now,
don't apologize.
Kevin, don't take my final shot now. Come on. I
No,
told
no,
you what
no.
I was I told you what I was going to do.
Look,
So.
we're trying to wrap this up because I know Carrie's. We all got to get up.
Oh
early.
yeah, I'm talking. Carrie, you. Ooh, I apologize.
Well,
That's
let
okay.
me. I still got a couple topics. Let me throw a couple because, real quick, when I was doing a fucking going back and forth with that person in my DM or in the DM, he made a comment that I was like, that's interesting. He said, now that the players are getting paid, they care less. Is that at first I was like, you're an idiot. But then I was like, is that well, here's the thing. I saw this came out in a quote from Nick Saban. Nick Saban was recruiting a kid who was obviously probably 5-star kid, and the kid basically gave Nick Saban his deal. I want $500,000 of an NIL deal, and I want my girlfriend to go to Alabama law school on Alabama's dime. And long story short, Saban basically said, "Fuck you, you're not coming here." But Carrie, is there maybe kids getting paid now? Do they think less is losing maybe less, a little not as big of a deal because they're still getting paid? Yeah.
No, I don't think. I think it's still a huge deal. They play sports. They play sports on a very high level. They've been playing sports on a very high level since they were kids. And you know what? Losing sucks, and they hate to lose. I don't care how much money they're making. The professional guys hate to lose. Like, come on. These professional guys are making bazillions of dollars a year or whatever. And let me tell you, they can't stand losing. They hate it just as much as somebody who's not getting paid in a church league, right, or whatever. I mean, when you play sports on any kind of high level, I don't care if it's an individual thing like tennis or track or or a team sport like basketball or football, losing sucks. Period.
And here's the thing: when it comes to NIL and players getting paid, there's always been money in intercollegiate athletics, right? I've tweeted out repeatedly, if you think that money just got involved in intercollegiate athletics because of NIL, you are a fucking moron. And I've got Eric Dickerson's gold Trans Am to sell you. Like, there's always been money. And so here's the thing, right?
Pony Express, right?
Right. Here's the thing. When coaches started making $5, $6, $7, $8, $9 million a year, that wasn't a problem. When facilities started costing hundreds of millions of dollars, and you've seen like at Texas and Kentucky and other places, these big, extravagant locker rooms. Oh, everybody's got their own PS5. Everybody's got this, that, and the other. If that didn't sway you to say money has nothing to do with it, now all of a sudden the kids can get paid over the table. Now the kids don't care, right? Now the kids aren't invested, right? Money's always been there, right? Like now all of a sudden it's a problem because the kids can get paid. I don't know if you saw this tweet. An unnamed college basketball coach said, "I can't even get a interview with Bronny James. His mom won't interview me." Motherfucker, what? Like, it's LeBron James' kid. You ain't walking off the street talking to LeBron James' kid. But it's an issue. Do you know what happened with Arch Manning? Right? Yeah. Archie Manning's grandson, the nephew of Eli and Peyton. He had people showing up at his house. You present to me why I should come to your school.
Mhm.
But now all of a sudden it's issue. Kids don't care. Man, it's been transactional for 50, 60 years.
That's a good
Now
point.
all of a sudden the kids get it and the parents have a bad attitude. No, you getting paid, coach, off what my kid's doing. Where's my piece?
Right.
And I hate to say it, there's a racial component. Now the black moms and dads, they're bad because they're asking for their bag. Because Nick Saban, I know you ain't coming to these projects unless my kid run a 4.40, right? Coach Cal, I know you're not coming to this neck of the woods unless my kid has a jump shot that's pure. But all of a sudden, the kids don't care,
Right.
right? Dabo Swinney can talk about love, Jesus, and all this kind of stuff. He's still getting his $10 million a year, right?
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, now the kids get money. Oh, my Lord, what are we doing? Damn it, everybody's getting paid. University getting paid, right? Kevin Hale, right? Carrie Lewis. When Kentucky won all those championships back in the 90s when I was there, they talked about how the applications went up. They talked about how people from going to the the chemistry students, everybody wants to go to these schools because of what these 12 kids are doing on a basketball court. But now all of a sudden, oh, I don't know if these kids don't care. Shut the fuck up and take your money. I'm sorry. I apologize.
All right. Okay, we'll wrap this up. Real quick, just a couple nuggets to throw at you. This past week, 4 future Kentucky men's basketball players made the McDonald's All-American team. The first Kentucky State kid, Reed Shepherd, to make it since 2014. Carrie Lewis, Billy Packer, died this past week. Big voice. He's, to me, college basketball, Billy Packer. What say you?
Oh yeah, no, huge loss. We've lost so many of these great, iconic, legendary, broadcasters over the years, and
We're getting to that point of our lives.
We really are. There's people out there that are trying to kind of come up and make careers, but these people we feel like have been around our whole entire lives. We've heard them call just iconic games, Final Fours and Super Bowls and Masters tournaments and all kinds of things. And something that people might not know about Billy Packer, he actually called professional putt-putt. Yeah, he did. So he got on a professional putt-putt calling or whatever on TV, Wide World Sports type of stuff. But yeah, again, just one of those legendary, iconic voices. And you heard that CBS music, the iconic music for the basketball, and you were expecting to hear his voice. So yeah, it really sucks that we're losing all these legendary commentators.
Yeah, well said. Terry, anything about Mr. Packer?
Oh, Billy Packer, like I hated him when he was calling the games because it always felt like he was against my team. I'll be honest with you. But as Carrie said, there are certain voices that, for right or for wrong, when I replay certain moments in my head, I hear their voice. And Billy Packer is one of those. And you have to tip your hat because that's a level that not a lot of commentators reach. Like for me, Pat Summerall, John Madden, when they were calling a game, NFL game, it meant something, right? Yeah. And for the longest time, Billy Packer and Jim Nance,
when Al McGuire, who was
Al McGuire,
yep.
It was that. Okay, this is a big game.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. It takes me back to Keith, for football.
Keith Jackson.
Keith Jackson. Whoa, Nelly. Let me tell you, it meant something. And I don't think we get that as much because games are all over the place. But when games, particularly like college football, you only got the one game a week.
Back in the
ABC,
day. And
right?
it was Jackson's voice. That
Nelly, let me tell you about this little baby from Alabama. He would do this thing, and it was a big thing.
Right.
And rightly or wrongly, Billy Packer became some of that.
Right.
And I still remember vividly Patrick Sparks giving him 5 in 2005 after hitting that
3.
shot
Mhm.
against Michigan State.
State.
Like that to me is the Billy Packer memory. On
That's-
top of,
I like that. Yeah.
you know, when Maglore had Masiello stretch on the court. Oh, Jim, what is he doing? Those are my 2 Billy Packer memories. But to be the voice of the Final Four for, you know, 2 decades.
34 Final Fours he called.
Wow.
34.
I tip my hat because, again, I didn't like him as much when he was doing it. But then I'm replaying all these plays in my head. Tony Delk hitting 7 threes, and you know Mashburn and those guys going to the Final Four. It was Billy Packer, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the voice you hear if you're not listening to Tom Leach or whoever. So I tip my hat to Billy Packer and those guys on the national schedule. So again, apologies.
No, good. You're good. Last one I'm gonna throw at you before final shots. No blue-white spring football game this year. Big deal, Carrie.
They're having an open practice that people are going to be able to go to. So
Yeah.
what's the difference?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the blue light spring game is just a giant open practice that you can go to Commonwealth Stadium, # not my Kroger Field, and watch. And this year you'll just have to go, you know, somewhere else because they're replacing the turf. So I don't see it as a
Right.
huge deal.
No, I don't either. Carrie or Terry. Big
Number
deal.
1, I love Carrie Lewis representing our generation, calling it Commonwealth Stadium. She's not saying that out of spite, but she's saying it because she's been there for 7 or 8 games every single year for a 4-year stretch. So I tip my hat. It's not that big a deal. What do you see at the blue and white game anyway? Whatever sport it is, you're not seeing that much. So open practice, let them do it.
Let them do it. Okay, guys. Good stuff tonight. Good audience in the chat room. Appreciate everyone hanging with us and your comments and interaction. Ball Steak, he came in starting shit about Tennessee stuff, but you know,
About Tennessee,
anyway.
let me tell you something about Vol Steak. Let me tell you something. I'm putting this out there right now.
Brother.
If Tennessee makes it to a Final Four, I myself, Terry C. Brown, will donate $50 to the University of Tennessee if they make it to a Final Four. I've said it. I've said it for 5 years, and that money stayed in my motherfucking pocket because Tennessee's not going to a Final Four.
General
on the men's
scholarship
side.
fund or specific fund, athletic
To the scholarship. If I got it
General
right to
scholarship
athletics,
fund.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
whatever their bare minimum is to become a member of the UT Scholarship Fund, I will do that. Hand to God if they make a men's Final Four. Otherwise, Tennessee basketball, you shut the fuck up when grown folks is talking.
But they do have a return visit to, or not a return. Well, yeah, it's a return.
I don't give a good goddamn. I've said this before. Let me tell you something. I apologize for the language, Carrie Lewis. I apologize. I didn't say this because I was out traveling last week. I was traveling back and forth. I was in the airport for 16 hours. Not great. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln said that Thanksgiving was going to be the 4th Thursday of November. That's 100 and whatever, 70. What? You know, okay? That's as many times as we've beaten Tennessee at men's basketball. So in theory, during the height of the Civil War, you could have started giving thanks for all the times the University of Kentucky, which wasn't founded yet, would beat the University of Kentucky or University of Tennessee men's basketball team, which wasn't founded yet. You could give a different thanks for every Kentucky victory over Tennessee and not repeat any. Beating Tennessee is as historic and American
It is glorious.
as Thanksgiving. So I'm not going to hear it from Tennessee people. We beat Kentucky as much as anything. You haven't beaten us as much as there are Thanksgivings. So kiss my booty.
STFU. Yeah.
So if Tennessee makes it to the Final Four, I will write to a scholarship fund. I will become a Vol fund booster because you know what? That's safe money because it's never going to happen.
Niner Mike is right. I told you he is cutting promos tonight.
Niner Mike, I'm fired up. I've had 4 batches of
Four
roses of bourbon. I'm fired up because my team lost on the 4th string quarterback. And I'm not going to take any slack.
That wasn't a loss, Terry. It was a beat down, man.
It was a beat down. What do you want me to say, Kevin? You know, look, I'm going to represent whatever. The day after Kentucky lost to St. Peter's, St. John's, St. Paul's. Which one was it, Carrie Lewis?
St. Peter's.
Look, I'm drinking Gatorade trying to catch up. I got to work tomorrow. But the point is, I'm going to keep rocking my thing. I'm going to keep rocking it. And the last thing I'm going to do when it comes to men's basketball is listen to anything from the University of Tennessee fans. They try to say, this is what a good basketball team is. Like, how the hell do you know? You ain't never seen a men's basketball team get to a Final Four. I've seen 50-11.
50-11.
They talking about, oh, we might win the SEC. God damn it. I apologize for my language. But fucking, like, everybody got to look. I graduated from Kentucky. They gave me a SEC championship trophy. It don't mean shit to us. It don't mean nothing to us. Or we gonna win the SEC. Well, damn it. I have seen 2 midgets and a woman in a rocking chair for Kentucky win the SEC championship. That don't mean nothing.
I watched 2 midgets in a video, but it was of an adult variety.
Look, I'm gonna take a lot of slander. If you're a Philadelphia Eagle fan, I'm gonna take slander. I am not taking slander from any fan base when it comes to men's basketball in the SEC. I'm gonna watch that. SEC's got a documentary coming out. It's like 4 parts. 3 parts of it better be Kentucky, because I ain't watching nothing else. Because the rest of it's ass juice.
Terry,
we had Ernie and Bernie. I don't give a damn. Oh, we had Shaq and Pistol Pete. I don't give a damn. It's Kentucky. I'm sorry.
Are you this relaxed on with your Cats Talk Wednesday show?
When it comes to Cats Talk,
I bet you're a lot more professional on that show.
Bourbon. I told y'all I've been drinking this since the third quarter.
This TB every fucking Sunday.
When the 4th Street quarterback came in and then he got a concussion, I was like, oh damn, heavy pour. I'm telling you, my wife was like, can I be honest for a second? She was like, you really don't have to do this. I'm like, I told Kevin and Carrie what I was going to do.
I know. All right,
and he said, come on. All right.
Come on.
Sorry.
Come on, Eileen.
I really do love y'all very, very much.
I know. We love you.
I'm
more.
out.
Final shot time. It's been a moment since Carrie got to talk. So, Carrie, I'll start with you. Give me your final. I'm kidding. But you know what? This is what I live for. Look at that fucking beautiful smile on the other side. Carrie Lewis. That's gold to me. Carrie.
Well, maybe since I didn't get to talk so much this episode, maybe I'll do a two-parter final take here, right? So
give me one final in 17 subparts.
Okay, yeah. We'll do it like the back to school with the Rodney Dangerfield. There you go. So part number 1, can we please stop doing these pranks at sporting events to film on the TikToks and the YouTubes? That Uber driver prank at the Duquesne, right? It was a stunt. It was they came out the next day or 2 days later and said it was definitely confirmed as a stunt. But that stuff's it's got to stop, because it didn't mess up the game this time, but who knows, next time somebody could get hurt, or games on the line, and then you got to stop the game because of this nonsense. It's just, can we just not do that anymore? It's ridiculous.
If it was on a football field,
oh yeah,
a player would have fucking blew his ass up.
It probably, it's stupid. Nope, it's not funny at all. It's just dumb. But again, that's the interwebs making people have to get those dopamine hits get those clicks, right? Mm-hmm. And secondly, I can watch the Super Bowl in peace and enjoy it. Yay! What's the chant that they do? Who Day? Oh, the Chiefs. Yeah, that's Who Day. The Chiefs.
You're not a Bengals fan, are you?
I hope Cincinnati's mayor can now learn how to shut his mouth and not trash talk before the game.
Yes, yes,
right.
Yes.
Save the trash talk till after you'll win, and you didn't. So maybe next year. But I got 2 words for you: salary cap. So good luck.
Oh yeah. Who they keeping?
I don't know. They're
They
going to
gotta
have
find
to
it.
choose.
Yeah.
You can keep chasing or Burrow, but you're not going to be able to keep both.
Interesting. Ooh, Terry Brown. Final shot, sir.
I've talked enough. I love everybody.
No parting words for you.
The parting thing is, I get to watch the Super Bowl without any kind of emotional investment, because I've said very clearly a lot of times, the 49ers losing Super Bowl the last couple of times they've lost, that's been a bigger loss than even Kentucky losing in the tournament, because teams lose in the tournament, right? But losing the Super Bowl, and your team's in the Super Bowl, and it sucks if your team's in the Super Bowl because there's commercials and all this, but you're zeroed in on this. And when your team loses, there's just this big emotional letdown. The 49ers lost when the lights went out against the Ravens, Beyonce halftime show, and that hurt. It hurt against Patrick Mahomes a couple years ago. The 49ers were up 10 points with 6 minutes left, and I was getting ready to start texting people they can kiss all my behind. And the next thing I knew, we were lost by 2 scores. How is that mathematically possible? But I get to watch this. What is that?
This is Michelle Morton adding Katie. Please come and get
Let me just. All right, Michelle, I love you very much. And I know she's doing this as a laughing kind of thing. I get it. One, Katie Cat Cubs is a Mrs. Brown. She's not the Mrs. Brown. And 2, she can't come down here and tell me nothing, because the Emancipation Proclamation says white people can't be telling black people shit. So I'm gonna keep talking.
Playing that card, huh?
I play that damn card. I will song in the South, this son of a bitch, and be like zippity doo dah. You can't tell me.
This motherfucking Terry Brown, Carrie Lewis tonight, gold.
Look, I warned y'all about 3:00, right? You said, "Here's the email."
No, I was salivating.
Here's a full bottle of bourbon that I'm getting into, and you all were like, "Great," and I'm like, "Well, we'll see what happens." And this is what happened. I really do love you all very much. I love Carrie Lewis very much. Carrie, you're great. Girls Beer Sports is great. I love your takes on everything. You love college football more than Lee Corso. I love that. Kevin, you are great.
Kevin
thank
Hale.
you for
Call me by my first and last name.
Oh, Kevin Hale, you know you need to watch more football. But can I be honest for a second? Look,
you haven't been tonight?
I have been, but I'm drinking Gatorade because look, Monday TB is gonna hate Sunday TB. Let me just be clear, because I gotta work in the morning. But talking to Steve, when I was at one of my lowest points, going through my divorce and everything was going on, Kevin Hale reached out to me and he said, "Hey TB, come meet me at wherever we met." I can't remember wherever we met. And we talked for like 4 or 5 hours. And when it comes to mental health, and I'm gonna be serious before we end this, yes, you've got your people, but it's very important for those, like, I don't want to say extra people. The people don't have to reach out to you. Like for me, I knew my mom was going to take care of me, right? And your kids are going to take care of you. But it's those random people you meet on Twitter, the random people you meet on the street that say, hey, you're going through a rough time. Come on with me. And Kevin, you remember, you and I talked that night. Carrie, this is how long we talked. They turned the lights on at the bar, and it was last call.
It was last call. 4 a.m.
Yeah, we had talked all night. Yeah. And that's why I say when it comes to mental health, I am not here because I'm awesome. I am not. I am a lot of things. I'm not awesome. But it's been people reaching out to me. And that's why I'm here today, to be honest with you. So I love the both of you. I love you inviting me on despite let me tell you how. Okay.
Let me tell you. You used those. Let me tell you.
My awesome wife just tells me, she says, "Do you need more water or more Gatorade?" She has heard me yelling. Folks, I love you all very much.
It's 10:30.
It is. Y'all got stuff. I'm going to hate myself in the morning. No. I'm going to text y'all and I'm going to be like, oh,
we'll be up in the morning. We'll be up.
Monday. Yeah, don't text me early. Love y'all.
Chat room, thank you for hanging with us. Everyone have a great
Niner
night.
Mike, we're going to be back, baby.
Round of Shots, the audio version, which is even more gold, will be up sometime tomorrow. Carrie Lewis and her news, Girls Beard Sports, Terry Brown and his stuff tonight, Cats Talk Wednesday. Kevin Hale, wishing everyone a great Sunday night. Pleasant week. Go Cats. We'll do it again next week. Take care.
I love you.
Peace. Love it.